And welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Talking with Twyla Braze in the last segment about healthcare and the advantage of private healthcare exchanges, where employees go to a private exchange to find a health insurance product that suits them the best. The employer provides a defined contribution amount, then the employee can work with that. They can spend more of their own money if they want a more extensive health care plan, or they can go with a slimmed down plan that maybe is not much more than a catastrophic plan. That's what Debbie and I did when we had the choice back when I was running a pro-family organization in Idaho. We had a low deductible or a high deductible, low premium account. It was basically catastrophic. We were out of pocket for the first $7,500 of healthcare expenses. So if we want to go to the dentist, we want to go to the eye doctor, we had to go get a sniffle checked out, we were out of pocket up to $7,500. That's the way we wanted it. We had coverage. If something really major happened, we were covered. And in the meantime, because our premium was lower, because the deductible was high, we were able to plow the differential into a health savings account, which we still have today. We still have that sitting there in case we have a major healthcare event, and that can help us with satisfied premiums and co-pays and deductibles and all that kind of thing. Not satisfied premiums, but satisfied deductibles and co-pays and all that. Now, if you want to see where healthcare is going, where socialized healthcare is going, all you got to do is look at the UK. Got a story here over the weekend. You won't believe this, but ladies and gentlemen, this is where Obamacare will take it. That's why this thing has got to be repealed. This is from Socialized Medicine in the UK, where they've been doing this for decades now. And here's a story in the Daily Mail that says that hospitals are being paid millions of dollars a year to hit targets for the number of patients who die on the Liverpool Care Pathway, called LCP for short. Now, this Liverpool Care Pathway is the pathway that is designed for people that are diagnosed or labeled by a doctor as terminally ill. So a doctor says, look, this patient can't live. They're going to die. They're terminally ill. So they put them on this Liverpool Care Pathway. All they do, if they get placed on this LCP, it's not a care pathway. It's a death pathway. It's a classic example of the death panels that Sarah Palin was talking about. If an elderly patient is put on this LCP, they are sedated and they are denied nutrition and they are denied hydration. And they die on average within 29 hours. Now, you can go a long time without food. People have fasted 40 days and longer. You can go a long time without food. You can't go more than a few days without water. Hydration will kill you quicker than starvation any day of the week. So these patients are literally being dehydrated to death, and hospitals now have a financial incentive to put as many elderly patients on this death pathway, this euthanasia pathway, as possible. They actually get millions of dollars in rewards. The central government, the National Health Service, gives them more money. The more elderly patients are euthanized, put on this Liverpool death pathway, they get more money. They've got a financial incentive. They actually have quotas. It's like affirmative action in reverse. They're set a goal. We want 2/3 of your patients to die, your elderly patients to die on the Liverpool Care Pathway. And they handed out about 30 million pounds. I think that'd be about $45 million or something. I don't know what the pound is going for today, exchange rate, but say roughly $45-50 million in extra money from taxpayers is going to hospitals as a reward for killing off their elderly patients. Now, you know, diagnosing somebody as terminally ill is a very subjective case. It's a subjective deal. But when you've got money now in the mix, you get a reward. If it's a close call, they're going to put that person on the death care pathway and get the payoff from the central government. Now, let's grab some clips on this Libya thing. I went through this in detail with you on Friday. Let's start with clip 3, Rob, if we can. I went through this in detail with you on Friday, this inexcusable, unpardonable thing that happened in Libya, where you had the president now, we know almost certainly was aware of this attack on the ambassador within minutes. Protocol required that when an ambassador comes under attack, he's got to be notified in person. He's got to be hand-delivered a message that has the information that a consulate or an embassy and an ambassador is under attack. So if protocol was followed, and it almost certainly was, then President Obama would have known within minutes that this attack had taken place. He did nothing. The last two, the two heroes, the ex-Navy SEALs, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, they died 7 hours after the attack began. 7 hours after the attack began. And President Obama, even though he knew that this attack had been launched within minutes of it starting, did absolutely nothing. And the two Marines that died in the annex, the last two died at 4 o'clock in the morning. Tyrone Woods was actually lasering. He was laser painting the mortars that wind up taking him out. Now, the only reason you would do that, according to what I've read, the only reason that a member of the military would laser paint a mortar is if he knew that there were airborne assets in the neighborhood that could take out that target. Because if you laser paint, if you paint a mortar, it reveals your position. In other words, when you use the laser to light up and identify the target, it reveals your position. So you're not going to do it. Either you're only going to do it if you're absolutely desperate. This is your last chance at survival, or because you know that there are resources in the air. Now, I don't think Tyrone Woods, I think he knew that no resources were coming. Nobody was doing anything. Nobody was lifting a finger to help, despite the fact that you had rapid deployment forces less than 2 hours away by plane. They could have been on the ground, boots on the ground, inside of 2 hours. We have information that indicates these AC-130 gunships that are designed for this kind of combat mission, exactly this kind of situation, that there was at least one of those that was in Benghazi. I repeat, the information we have is that one of these gunships was in Benghazi, and it was never deployed. And this ultimately has to go back to the President of the United States. He's the only one that could withhold or give the order. Now, President Obama said, man, I went out there and within minutes, as soon as the minute I heard, I gave an order that our personnel were to be protected no matter what. And a guy by the name of Bing West, I think his name is, former member of the Bush administration, he said, okay, if he gave that order, where is it? He says he gave the order the minute he heard that personnel were being protected no matter what. Where is that order? We need to see a copy of that order, because it had to be in written form. It had to go out to hundreds, literally hundreds of members of the military, because if he's saying, I gave the order the minute I knew about the attack, I gave the order that all of our personnel and all of our embassies all around the world, they were being protected with every resource we have, then Bing West says, look, that's going to be in writing somewhere. Where is it? Mr. President, let us see it if you're not just blowing smoke at the American people. Now, this is clip 3. Here is Charles Wood. He is talking to Megyn Kelly and talking about the fact that his son, Tyrone Woods, real hero of the piece, Glenn Doherty the same, he actually disobeyed orders. He heard the shooting at the consulate. He's over at the annex a mile away. He hears them under assault. He asks if he can go help, and he is told twice, stand down, don't go. Don't go there and help him. He finally just disobeyed the orders and went anyway. Said, we got Americans in harm's way. I'm going to try to rescue him. And he did apparently. It was able to evacuate the personnel that were remaining in the consulate. He retrieved the body of Sean Smith, the computer specialist who died. He could not find the body of Ambassador Stevens, got back to the annex, and then the battle rages at the annex for 4 hours, and he finally dies from a mortar attack. Here's his father talking to Megyn Kelly about what it revealed about his son, that he actually disobeyed these orders. Let's listen.
This news that he disobeyed his orders does not surprise me. My son was an American hero, and he had the moral strength to do what was right, even if that would professionally cost him his job, even if it would potentially cost him his life. He was a hero who was willing to do whatever was necessary to respond to their cries for help. If, in fact, those people in the White House were as courageous and had the moral strength that my son Ty had, immediately, within minutes of when they found there was the first attack, they would have given permission, not denied permission, for those C-130s to have gone up there.
So he says, look, if they had any courage in the White House, they would have sent these AC-130s to help my son and the other Americans that were there. And then in this next clip, he really makes about the most serious charge you can possibly make about the White House, basically accuses President Obama and the White House of murdering his son. Let's listen.
I don't know much about weapons, but it's coming out right now that they actually had laser targets focused on the mortars that were being sent to kill my son, and they refused to pull the trigger. They refused to send those T-30s. To me, I'm an attorney. This may not meet the legal test of murder, but to me, that is not only cowardice, but those people who made the decision and who knew about the decision and lied about it are murderers of my son.
So he says, look, Barack Obama's a murderer. You boiled it down. He's saying Barack Obama is a murderer of my son. He murdered my son because he had resources at his disposal that could have saved the life of my son. He had a moral, constitutional, legal, and ethical responsibility to deploy those assets to protect the life of my son. He didn't have the courage to do it. And it reminds me a lot of what happened with Uriah the Hittite. Remember Uriah the Hittite and what King David did with Uriah. Remember, he'd had an affair with Bathsheba, Uriah's wife. She got pregnant. He's trying to cover his tracks. Brings Uriah back from the field, tries to get him to sleep with his wife. He won't do it. My comrades are out sleeping in tents on the ground. I'm not going to do it. And so David realizes, look, the jig is going to be up, because when it turns out, when everybody finds out his wife's pregnant, Uriah's going to know it wasn't him. And so David has got to kill him. He's got to get him out of the way in order to cover his tracks. And so he tells Joab, look, I want you to put Uriah where the heat of the battle is the strongest. And then at the heat of the battle, I want you to pull all your troops back and leave Uriah exposed so they will take him out. And they did. And you know what God called that? God called that murder. When you expose a man deliberately to attack and you don't go to his aid when you can, that's murder. And that's what Charles Woods, the father of Tyrone Woods, is accusing President Obama of doing. Now, we got a couple of more sound bites. We'll get to those. We're going to talk with my good friend Joseph Parker in this next segment about the sanctity of life and its relevance to this upcoming election. But we'll come back in the last segment and we'll play some more sound bites that have to do with this Libya thing. Pat Caddell, who is a Democrat strategist, was a pollster for Jimmy Carter, absolutely appalled at what a Democrat president has done in this circumstance. We'll hear Obama avoiding direct questions from a local newscaster about what went on in Benghazi. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Joseph Parker, who is Director of Outreach and Intercession here at AFA. In 2 minutes, stay with us. Focal Point, AFR Talk.